Hello, what is up, my Chefy here again, and today I'm going to be going over some of my personal building tips for you to transform your boxes like this into something a little bit more nice. I'm going to go step by step in building this and kind of explain my choices and why I did it the way I did. And hopefully you can take something from this video and apply it to your own building so that way you can build some awesome things. So let's go ahead and come on over here. Generally, I like to have an idea of what I want to build first off, so that way I kind of have a direction to go, but not everyone does that, so that's kind of up to you. Now the first thing that I'm going to say is you may have seen some of Chaos's building videos. Those are super great tips. He's an amazing builder and I respect his builds a lot, but I will also say building is subjective, so whatever you think looks good is good. So my base is going to be 17 blocks wide, and that's just based off of what I built over here. I'm trying to build this exactly. And so one of Chaos's building videos, he does what's called false foundations, which I think look pretty cool, but personally I prefer more solid foundations like this, where it's just like solid blocks to fill it up, you know. Let me get the base of my ground down. Part of this I'll probably just be building and you can kind of be watching, but my reasoning behind doing the floor like this, so this is going to be the base of the building, is I sometimes like to think of my building logically, even though like building a Terraria can be super illogical, but I think wood flooring in houses is nice, especially in like a dining or kitchen area. So I mean, the houses in Terraria are really small, so I might as well just go with wood for the whole thing rather than splitting it up. So that's why I chose wood floor for the floor. I like to extend the actual base out just a little bit to give it some more area and depth, make it look more like a foundation. And I try and avoid like solid blocks by themselves. That's one of the reasons why these boxes don't look as great, is because it's very square. So the least amount of squareness you can do, I would say, is the better. And then you always have to kind of build out the shape. So you always start with a box, right? You could have a different shaped building if you want. It just makes building a little bit more difficult. I just realized I forgot to grab the doors. I've been using the rich mahogany door. By the way, all of these materials, I tried to grab things that you can get early game, so that way you can see that even in the early game you can build some pretty nice stuff. Now once I get the basic shape, depending on how I'm feeling, I usually try and do the background walls first, because once you start filling it up with furniture and stuff, it's harder to see like what walls need to be placed where. And so as you may have noticed over here, I have multiple different walls going on. And so the bottom layer is living wood wall. And I like to do this just 2 layers high. Kind of like, I don't know, I think it's similar to like a baseboard in a house. Just adds a little extra detail rather than just a solid wall all the same color. So I'm just going to fill in the rest of this with real wood wall. And there we go. Now I've got my basic building done. Now you have a couple options. You can start to furnish it and decorate the inside, or you can finish the outside. I like to do the inside first, and so I thought it would be cool to have a fireplace, but it makes sense to have like a chimney, you know? So I like to put walls around it and behind it to make it look like it's a chimney going up to the roof. Just like that. So pretty simple, but it adds a bit of depth to the build. And depth is another thing that really makes your build stand out. So once you've got that, you always need a table and chairs, which I just realized I forgot to grab as well. I decided to go with the banquet table. Now this does take a little bit more effort to get, but I think it looks really nice. And then I just use some simple wooden chairs on either side. You could call this pretty much done once you add a light source. I believe this counts as suitable housing, yep. But it's still very, very bland. So I try to add as much decoration as I can. A lot of people like to add windows, which I think is a great idea. I think vertical windows look really nice, and I think adding a kind of like a curtain rod across the top also looks really nice. Now to make curtains, I like to use pumpkin wall. Now orange is a very strong color, but when painted it works really well. Another thing that is kind of a step that I do last is painting. I kind of build everything and then paint very last. So adding a little bit more to the table, add a mug and a plate, and then a consumable onto the plate. Looks very nice. Now there's some wall space and some floor space still available. If it's too crowded for you, you don't have to put anything down here, or if you want it to be functional, I like to add chests. Those are really simple decorative things. Boom, just like that. Ivy chest from the jungle. Or you could add like a plant or something right there. Kind of up to you. I try not to put things too close together, because then it can feel cramped inside the house. One way to solve that is just put a space between everything, or build the house bigger, but then you spend more time doing that. So it's kind of up to you what you want to do. Now I like to add a little bit more to this, make a little bit thicker of a mantle. I think that looks pretty cool. And I'm going to add some books. I think books are a great way to add some decoration. Something to note is you can move it. If you don't like the color or style of the books, you can move your mouse back and forth until you get the one that you want. So I'm not too picky when it comes to the books, so I'm just going to go with that, and then I'm going to add another shelf right there. I want to add a little bit more lighting, so I put that up at the top, and that is pretty much the inside done. Now the inside looks great, but the outside is still very, very boxy. So I'm going to use some rich mahogany blocks. You can just grab these from the jungle, super common, and kind of do a shape like this. I think this looks pretty good. Once again, it's kind of up to you how you want to do your roof. You could make it pointed. I find pointed roofs are kind of wasteful in Terraria, even though they look super cool. So I do use pointed roofs. I have plenty of pointed roofs. Like I have a castle with very pointy roofs. But this build I decided to just go something basic. And gonna add some wrought iron fence just for a little bit of detail. Really, that's the name of the game, is detail. The more little things that you can add the better your build will look. And it may be very time consuming at first to, you know, decide which details look good and which ones don't. But over time you kind of get the feel and hang of it. Alright, and then we want the chimney to actually go somewhere, so I'm going to put that there. Kind of wish the chimney matched the 3 blocks, or I wish it was 2 blocks, but it is what it is. And then lastly, I try and add something on top. I consider these like shingles. I think these look pretty good. And there's that. Now, one last thing before I do the painting is I like to add some more texture. I think using multiple different blocks is a good way to add texture and variety to your build. So I've just got some stone that I'm just gonna kind of mix in randomly, and that'll give the build some more texture and make it look more realistic, I guess. Boom, just like that. Just a little bit goes a long way, you know? So now let's do some painting. The rich mahogany wood looks nice, but I think it looks better brown. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paint it all brown. Cool. That looks so much better already. Paint is a magical substance in Terraria. It can really make or break a build because it provides that like uniform look and color palette to your build. So bam, there you go. So just to recap a few things, I try and think of my build how I want it to go before I start building. I start with foundation, build the shape, do the walls, then do the interior, then do the roof, then I paint last. Oh, and then I do texture and then I paint last. Sorry, forgot about that step. So hopefully you can take something from this video and apply it to your boxes, make your builds look much better. So if you stuck around, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Almost 2,000 subs. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you want to see next. And I'll see you in the next one.